Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Hey hooligans, this is Michael.
This is Michelle.
This is Jeremy.
From Who the What Now?
The show about
strange stories from the internet.
And Bigfoot came over and beat his ass. He knocked him around a little bit, and he just kind of went limp, and Bigfoot left.
pop culture.
Jean-Claude Van Clam.
I thought
Jean-Claude Van
thought you were
Clam
gonna-
was supposed to be the alien in Predator. Mm-hmm. And did a jump splits and ended up with his batch right in the dude's face.
That's his
do I
move.
get the part?
In our crazy lives.
I'm like, oh, there's a cat on my back. And then all of a sudden I feel something. I feel a furry paw go down my ass crack. Just slide right down my ass crack. I was like, what are you doing?
You can catch us on all your favorite podcast applications.
Spotify,
iTunes,
Libsyn,
iHeartRadio,
Stitcher,
your mamas. And wherever else they have quality podcasts.
So don't miss out on the next
Who the What
Now?
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of The Crazy Life. I'm Brian, and joining me as usual is Henno.
Yo, everybody.
And, taking the week off because, my silliness, my plans kept us from recording earlier today, so Jen decided to sacrifice herself for the good of the show. So.
Yeah. It wasn't her fault this time.
No.
We can't give her a rash.
No, this one was all me. I accept my responsibility here. So I guess with that, I'll go first because that'll be my penance for.
That's great.
It's been a pretty week. You know, we've been getting rain a decent amount here, and the weather kind of turned back to like 40 degrees, and it was kind of blah most of the days, and it's just wrecked my sinuses in my head. It's been no fun. But you know, again, it's whatever. It's used to it. So the other day, I go to get into my my sister's boyfriend's truck, and he's got like these boards on the bottom where you can to help you you step on them to step up into the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to do that because these vehicles that are set up like this are just a little bit too tall for me. Like I need if I was 3 inches taller, I'd probably be fine. Kind of a situation. Or they were lower, or whatever. So I go to get in and I grab the handle, that's on the inside of the door there. I grab that and I grab the door itself as I'm stepping onto this, and I totally slipped right off of it and went. Ugh. And with my arm still holding onto that, basically, if you just stretch your arms back, I did that, ugh. Hit my face on the dashboard. Luckily, between my holding on to what I was holding on to and Derek grabbed me a little bit, it kept me from going full on face first into the dash. And it was the corner of the dash too. It wasn't even like just the flat part. I hit my glasses. Luckily, no scratches, no break on my glasses, which was honestly more of what I was worried about because my glasses are past the warranty. So it would have been out of pocket to get them taken care of. Whereas my face, I have insurance to fix that. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be a shame for everyone to, something happened to my gorgeous face, but still,
of course,
felt like such an idiot, even though all it was, I tried to get in too fast and I thought I had my foot all the way on that board and I barely had my toe on it. So when I transferred my weight, I just went because my toe wasn't enough to hold me on there. So later in the day, I'm taking a shower. I grabbed my body wash, the bottle of it, and when I did, I dropped it. Dude, it hit just the corner of it, hit right on the edge of my toenail. And it hurt like crazy. And it's not that heavy. It just hit just right, And I'm like, maybe I should just go back to bed. Like, this isn't my day,
Seriously, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm just not having a good day here. But yeah, it's been a couple days later now though, and later that night, my neck was kind of tight, and my shoulder was a little tight from the way and it was just because of the angle that I was at. Well, hitting my face on the dash kind of pushed my head back. The next day I wake up and my neck felt fine, which is good. I'm glad about that. But my tricep on my left arm and the back of my shoulder are really tight now. Again, everything's fine. I have movement. There's no pain really. It's just super tight, so I was like, I must have just, hyperextended it a little bit. So, luckily there's that. The worst thing that got hurt was my pride, but, and it was nice though, cause, Derek, is my sister's boyfriend. He was like, yeah, he's like, I've done that a couple of times too. He's like, I go to get in too fast and I'll just slip. And I was like, okay, well that helps. I don't feel alone, at least in my stupidity. So yeah, that was a good fun. I highly recommend it for anybody who, if you're just bored looking for something to do, just
yeah, exactly.
Try to get into a truck too fast and, try to eat the dashboard. It's fun. Oh man. So yeah, that's, I really haven't done much this week. As much as I was motivated to do stuff for a while there, I was getting stuff on eBay. I was doing different stuff. I just completely, the pendulum swung completely back the other way to where I've really not done much. So I'm gonna try to kind of get myself going again tomorrow and start doing some stuff I need to get done. So, but I think it's just I really think a lot of it is like weather based. You know, like it was kind of blah a lot of the days. It wasn't really sunny, and it's just like, you know, like, I'm just gonna lay in bed, or I don't feel like doing this or this tonight. I'm just gonna, you know, play a video game or something like that, and whatever. So, yeah, that's been about it for me. I can't think of anything else. So, how about you?
Well, last time we recorded, I felt like I was getting a cold again.
Yeah.
Well, it turned into the flu by the end of the week.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do it, why screw around with a cold? Just go all the way into the flu.
Just go right to flu.
Just go big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to work, you know, and I was feeling crummy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd come home and pretty much just zone out.
Yeah.
You know, just drinking down NyQuil, and finally on it was Wednesday night, I started to feel like the chills. And I'm like, okay. And it wasn't a full-on fever. I mean, it was definitely low grade. But when I woke up Thursday morning, I'm like, okay, this is, you know, like, no, food tasted funky, you know, and it was in my chest. And now I'm like, okay, that's it. That's influenza, respiratory disease.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was really fun, and it was like the weather turned really nice last week. So
that's funny.
I'd just be getting up in the morning to take the dogs out for a walk, and it's just like, like it's so
right?
beautiful out here.
It stings when that happens, and I can sympathize, because usually what happens for me is, like I just told you, our weather's been meh. Like tomorrow forward, it's supposed to get really nice, or warmer at least, and you watch at least 2-3 of the next 4 days, I'll probably be miserable with a headache or my allergies
or something. Yeah. And it was that there were a couple of things I wanted to get done this last weekend, and it was just like, it happened. But I did get out, like, you know, pull some weeds and, you know, did a few minor things outside until I was like, all right, I need to lie down now. You know, like, you know, when you get to that point where you start to feel a little better, and then also, and I'm feeling a lot worse now.
Have you ever seen the episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets food poisoning off of a giant sandwich?
No, I haven't.
No,
seen it.
Dang it. Okay, because he eats this like old like party sub basically, and he gets up. They're supposed to go to Duff Gardens. That's where it is. And he's supposed to take the kids to Duff Gardens, and he comes out and he's like weird colored, and he's got like a blanket around him, and he's shivering, you know. And, you know, he sits down in the car, and Marge is like, you're not going anywhere. And he's like, Duff Gardens. And he's like, hurrah. And then he just face plants into the steering wheel, you know. It's like, that's kind of what I'm picturing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. And so then, but my mom's coming to visit on Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, I got, you know, stuff I need to do. And so, but most of the time I ended up spending, you know, with, you know, got my, at least it was a good time to get, you know, new computer.
Yeah.
So cleaning all that up. But yeah, I'm podcasting from my old location in my bedroom, and I like the shelving units and stuff. I'm like, this was the weird thing is, so, you know, I got knickknacks all over the house. That's my thing. And I was just, you know, when you this is a bad comparison. You know, when you haven't taken a shower for a bunch of days that you can't even stand your own stink.
Yeah, I do know that. Yeah.
You know, like when you tend to live in clutter, but you get to the point where you can't stand your own.
Dude, I've told you on here, and I know I've talked about it on here, where my desk gets like that, where I hit a point where I'm like, I have to clean this desk.
I got to a point where I was like, I went downstairs into my basement, and I'm like, and it just keeps going and it just keeps going. And finally I just start grabbing boxes. I'm like, I'm just boxing it all up.
Yeah. And
if in 6 months from now I didn't pull a darn thing out of those boxes, they can probably go into the garbage.
Yeah.
But I won't do that. I'm too sentimental.
Right.
But it was just like, no, it's just time to start pulling stuff off the walls. And it's great for when my mom comes. Mom has great ideas, with it was her idea that Sharon move in with me,
Yeah. It's turned out okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. But she has good ideas, so I know when she comes and visits, it'll because Sharon's like, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, "I'm just taking all this stuff down, and Mom will have something. She'll come up with something."
Yeah.
And plus, it'll be something for us to do, kind of fun, because I know she wants to do kind of nothing, but it's just not in her nature.
Yeah, right.
She wants to be a mom.
Yeah.
Which it took me a while. It was one of those things where I used to resist it. And then I realized it really took my nephews being born that I really kind of came to terms with the fact that my mom wants to be a mom. She likes it. She's good at it.
Yeah.
She enjoys it.
Right.
And when I saw her the way she was with my nephews, it's like, yeah, she wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this weekend is her to it was funny. I found this Mother's Day card that I sent her where it was always talking about from the beginning of the earth, like the cave woman did all this and blah, 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 while the caveman snored. and then it was like in the dark ages, it was really dark. I think it was one of those, what are those two little characters that talk back and forth with you? Oh, I'm forgetting their names now. They're in all the good Hallmark e-cards. Anyhow, they're just funny, and they have great funny cards. So they're talking about how and then in the dark ages, everything was really dark. So Mom would, do all this stuff in the dark, and Dad would snore. so it did that, and so I sent it to her, hoping that she would, get a laugh out of it, and she loved it. She's like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, as I'm reading this, I'm hearing snoring. Can't wait to come visit you for a few days."
Right. Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, a good week, and it was really cool. I had one of those experiences yesterday at work where it was an emergency call. There's a leak. And it's the person that kind of takes care of the unit for the owners.
Yeah.
And she does interior design and this and that. So she's not, she knows her stuff when it comes to buildings and things and properties. And she's got people showing up at 2:00, and it's like noon, and there's a leak. And it's nasty. And I walked in there and it was like, okay. And I just went to work. I got it all fixed. And there was glycol everywhere. And I managed to get it all back looking like nothing had happened. Leak fixed. And, she's like, I told a little white lie. They're not coming at 2, they're coming at 3. I'm like, awesome. Thank you for lying. That's an extra hour I have to get this together. But I walked out of there at 2:45 and it was ready. And it just felt good that there was at one point I sat there. I'm like, I am so happy I know how to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not having to call anybody and say, how do I fix this? I don't need to call somebody in. I can be of service to this person. And she left and she had no problem leaving. She was confident that and it really, it made me realize that I really do love my work.
Yeah.
It's not always great. And there's always, there's times where I don't know how to fix it and it can be a struggle, but those times where I can be of service to somebody and they're not freaking out and they're not stressed to take, I guess it's like, I've been feeling a little bit of stress on my own just with life stuff. Just silly little things are getting to me.
Yeah. That
it's nice to make it so that somebody else doesn't have to feel that way.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
And it felt good. And it was one of those moments where I was like, that's my win for the week. It is not so much what happened, because that's just a matter of training and all that. but it's allowing myself to acknowledge that and to be proud about it. It's not a false pride thing. I'm proud of what I can do and that I can be of service to somebody. And it's not from an ego point. It's from a gratitude point where, I'm in the right place and I'm doing the thing that I enjoy because look what, how it makes me feel. And I needed it. I needed a little, I just had a couple more little things that just got to me.
Yeah.
Like little tiny things. And it was just because it was a series of little tiny things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, like where I'm beating myself up, like nothing goes right for me. I can't do anything right.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I do this simple thing, which it has no actual impact on my life whatsoever. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, I can do things right. And I've been taught how to do things right. And it's like, let the little things go. Quit getting so hung up on it.
Yeah.
And so I needed that this week for sure, as a little booster.
Yeah.
Because I hate losing my shit over a sandwich.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
Well, yeah, because when you get to that point, you're like, this is not about this sandwich. This is about,
Exactly. Yeah.
2 weeks worth of stuff. The sandwich just was the tipping point.
Yeah. And it was dumb. So
usually ends up being that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
It sounds all right though, other than the losing.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
losing your
yeah,
stuff.
being sick and
yeah,
hacking up a lung every day, and
Mm-hmm.
it's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
good times. Yeah, good times. I was just thinking. I mentioned on the last episode about my brother having heart surgery, so I just want to, in case anyone wants to know, the update on him is he's home and he's seems to be doing pretty well. I think they were a little scared because they kept him on oxygen for like a week or two after sending him home. But other than that, he's been pretty good. Other than I guess his stepson the other day thought he'd do something nice, and he stopped on his way home and got like chili dogs and fries for everybody. And after a heart attack, you're not really supposed to be having chili dogs and fries.
That's kind of cruel.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy said.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy. He's like, man, I smelled it and it sounded so good. And like I told my mom, I said, when you first get home, they're more concerned about you building your strength back up and everything. So I was like, you probably could have had one. But if you can avoid starting those habits again, you're better off. But it's like, it's there, it's hot. I mean, I'd probably have one unless you couldn't, or just physically couldn't or something. But I was like, oh man, I guess he brought him a six of beer the other day too, and I was like, I told my mom, I was like, I think someone needs to sit down with him and explain to him what it's
what heart disease is.
Yeah, right.
Heart attack.
Yeah, it's like it's nice of him to do these things, because
it is.
He wanted to bring him something he knows my brother likes chili dogs and fries. So he wanted to bring him something to kind of, perk his day up. But yeah, that's rough.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah. So
I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be. So yeah, he called my mom yesterday for Mother's Day, and because no one expected him to come over, because that would have, if he did, we would have been like, wow, really, because usually the first, it's a good bit of time before you really feel like doing much after that, from what I've seen. So, but yeah, he said it's frustrating because he can't just get up and go, just get up and walk. And he said the other day, he's like, it takes me like 10 minutes to get up, to get to the bathroom, basically. Yeah. And I was like, well, time to either race catheter it up or get one of those, those little urinals they have at the hospitals, the little bottle, basically, just in case. Because if it takes you 10 minutes, there may be a time when you're like, oh man, I can't make it back there. Otherwise, you're gonna have a wet spot around your chair. So that's no good.
No, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. Yeah. One other thing, actually, I forgot to mention is our dog here the other day got sick, like, you know, vomited and whatever, and ever since she's just not been right. Like, so,
Oh.
and you can just, you know how it is with, like, much like a little kid, like a dog, you can just look at their eyes and tell they're not right, you know. And she, for a day or two there, she wouldn't eat, barely drank anything, which, you know, normally when an animal starts doing that, that's huge concern, you know.
Yeah.
But now she's eating a little bit and she's been drinking. So, but you can just tell when she gets up and walks around, like, she's just not quite herself. So I think then the next day or so, I think they're going to probably take her to the vet just to make sure it's not, you know, something treatable. I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, she's an old dog. Hopefully it's, you know, it's not bad news. Hopefully it's just maybe a little bug or something that, you know, maybe she just needs some medicine or something like that, kind of help her out. So, yeah, it's been sad. You know, as you walk by, and normally she, like, when she see me go out into the kitchen, she'd get up and start, like, doing circles because she's like, ooh, I'm going to get fed soon.
Something, yeah.
You know, something like that. And now I go out there, she lifts her head up and looks at me, you know, so I talk to her and stuff, and I'll reach down and, you know, pet her a little bit, and then she puts her head back down, and so.
That kills me.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, it's not my dog, but it's still, you know, it still sucks, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So hopefully I'll have better news to report next time. So, yeah. Now that I've bummed everyone out. No.
Way to bring us down, man.
Sorry, man. Oh, man. So, yeah, I guess, well, we start talking about the topic for this week, I guess.
Yeah, we got a great topic for y'all. We got a surprise for you. There's no such thing as normal. We all have emotional dysfunctions.
What?
And the thing that really jumped out at me about this little article on Psychology Today was this one line. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but it says, "Don't confuse normal with not seeking treatment."
That's a good line.
And we may think that normality does exist because of the sizable numbers of people who don't seek psychological treatment. We may assume that these people are less emotionally or mentally perturbed or disturbed than those requesting treatment. Over decades, we found many patients' family members to be more emotionally ill than the patients we saw.
Oh, wow.
Two or more people can forge relationship problems, but only one of them may seek treatment. We found the seekers of psychotherapy treatment to be more distressed and inquisitive than were their ill family members. And yeah, I thought that was really strong because that's where I was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why I never saw a therapist. I'm like, well, you know, I don't have any real problems, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah. That was the way I was for a while too, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we all have bad days. We all, you know, don't want to get out of bed and all this stuff. And, you know, it was before I knew the difference between, you know, wanting to get out of bed and can't get out of bed kind of a thing in those scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. And it all comes down to one thing. And this is, you know, for me, it's something that I relate to as alcoholic thinking is that one paragraph basically talks about, it's basically saying we're comparing our, you know, insides with somebody's outsides.
Right.
You know, that we make assumptions that these people are less emotionally or mentally perturbed, disturbed, you know, that these people are normal. I have no idea. I had no idea how dysfunctional people could be.
Right.
And how easily you could hide it and cover it.
Yeah.
You know, just functioning alcoholics and addicts. And then you start learning about mental health issues and you start getting into like, oh yeah, I always thought they had a little bit of a this and that. And it's like, it turns out that they struggle every day. And just the fact that they're even out there is a miracle.
Yeah. Or like Jen,
know,
you know, being bipolar, you know, when she would go through mania and everyone's just like, oh, she's just hyper, kind of a thing, or she's just perky, like that kind of a thing. And it was,
Yeah.
And now looking back, you're like, wow, she was manic so many of those times that it's like, man, it is, it's amazing that things didn't go bad at some point on her because of that, or like me, I have people that are, I never knew you were, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's because I went to great lengths to hide it.
Yeah. So this article is written by an MD, and she talks about that everyone believes in a bell-shaped curve, that a large percentage of the population is normal, and that in school we always learn about bell-shaped curve and how most of us fall into that middle of that bell, and that there are a few of us on extreme ends. But do we follow the supposed norm of emotionally and behaviorally well-adapted people? Do we rarely experience anxieties, depressions, addictions, problems with children, and marital dysfunction? Do most of us have balanced and happy relationships devoid of significant strife and loaded with fulfillment? And she goes on to say, in 40 years of clinical psychiatric practice, I have not found anyone who is normal. This is also the case for patients' family members who do not seek treatment. This is true for friends, colleagues, and their family members. Every person has skews in his or her personality. These run the gamut from mild to severe in degree. Large groups of normal people are not found.
Wow.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Because in the end, she goes into, why do we stigmatize? If we all suffer with some level of emotional distress, dysfunction, or emotional or mental illness, where's the stigma? Should we continue to stigmatize one another? What does this do to us? We can only perpetuate emotional and mental stigma if we have a comparison population without such problems. We haven't found these people. We'd be better off tackling the emotional difficulties we all share from the perspective of our shared and often problem-ridden humanity, not as them versus us, the normal. And I thought that was the real kind of an interesting thing, was that idea of stigma. And that's what, that's what we're doing in a lot of ways when we feel like we start comparing and putting value on other people compared to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that the reality is that we all have problems. There's no reason that there should be any mental, we talk about here all the time about the mental health stigma and how it keeps people from seeking therapy and that they're afraid to be labeled.
Yeah. 'Cause you don't want to be labeled weak, Jen's mentioned on here before about in the workplace, how, there's been jobs she's had where she has not wanted to tell them that she's bipolar because, she's afraid that she'll get held back because of that, know, and she has been a little bit or treated differently and not in the best way always, and I know other people who've done the same thing where they've, told their employer that they have depression, and then it becomes, anytime you show any different behavior, people immediately are, is it, and it's like, no, it's, we all just have bad days sometimes too, it's like, it's one thing if they're showing concern, but a lot of times it's more, there's so many environments.
Judgment.
Yeah. There's so many environments where people want to point out what you have wrong because they feel it will elevate them for promotions or raises or getting a project that, whatever. So it's, and as long as there's any sort of a reward for that, people are going to continue doing it. I mean, we probably would anyway because we're just jerks like that.
Mm-hmm. It's like that, the whole idea of calling someone lazy because they suffer from depression.
Mm-hmm. That
whole thing. Oh, you're just lazy. Well, let's just get up.
Yeah.
Why don't you just get out there and do it? Oh, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Because when with anxiety.
I had somebody ask me that one time. They were like, "Oh, what are you afraid of?" And I actually think I have a tweet about it. That's like, well, I suffer from anxiety. So literally everything,
And that's a great thing. Yet, I like the anxiety angle too, because it's like, okay, what is the real difference between you having anxiety about the world versus me having anxiety about a particular situation?
Yeah.
It's the same human reaction.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny too. I've taken guff from people over the years for my fear of being in cars and whatnot. And I've seen those exact same people like scream and run because they saw a spider.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm the unreasonable one who's afraid of 2,000-pound pieces of metal flinging themselves at me. But you have a little tiny bug that you could easily step on and move on about your day. And I'm the unreasonable one.
Yeah.
It's like that's how stupid the stigma stuff is at times.
Yeah. Yeah, and that it really, because one of my something I struggle with since I've gotten sober is just noticing people's lack of empathy.
Yeah.
For other human beings and what they struggle with. And that whole just pull yourself up from your boot, with your bootstraps kind of attitude, and applying an individual's anecdotal experience in their own life to others, which is just completely unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this idea that there's some sort of normal is really, we talk about it. Like we've brought it up. Like that's why we've come up with terms like happy-ish and all these little kind of workarounds to it.
Yep.
Because every time we say, I just hope that I'm somewhat normal. Well, what does that mean other than, a setting somewhere on a device?
Yeah. Right. It ends up, we all know, like it ends up meaning, whatever in your mind is however you feel most people behave. That's what normal is. And that may not even be, and that may not even be remotely accurate, because if you have distorted thinking in one sense, how do you know that you're also not applying it to what is normal,
Yep.
Like I said on
Exactly.
here, I did that for a long time when, till my therapist was kind of like, well, if this part of your thinking's flawed, how do you know, like, are you sure that you're also not distorted over here? She's like, you need to
That's it.
look at facts in the scenario and everything, so it's like, and you notice that it does, that is what ends up happening a lot of times. Like, and like you said, it's comparing outsides to insides most of the time, because it'd be like looking at Facebook and go, wow, they've got the greatest life in the world. Meanwhile, they're not letting people know that their spouse is cheating on them, or that they've got some sort of a, intense anxiety, or, like just all these things that they just keep hidden behind that mask of, I'm fine. And, it's just a bad place to be anyway. Just comparing yourself to others, no matter what the scenario, it just turns bad most of the time.
Yeah. And I think that whole idea of self-appraisal, like your therapist was talking about, I just read something about that too, about just how truly difficult that is.
Yeah.
How truly difficult it is and I'm well aware of that, for me to actively look at myself and really take stock of my defects and is my thinking, I have to just say, no, it's not. I am, everything that I do has a subjective quality to it. Everything I do is slanted. I'm not some, master of neutrality and logic. That's plainly BS. I bring it was interesting. I was talking to my GM about this, and we were just talking about, it was kind of a political topic. We were talking about justice, and he's had experience with law enforcement, let's just say. And I've noticed in conversations that he takes a certain slant towards, like when something comes up about prosecutions, I've just noticed it's not overt, but it's there.
Yeah.
That there's a certain way that he shapes what he says. And so I brought it up with him, and he took a little bit of offense because he's worked really hard at it because he had major resentments that caused a lot of problems. And so he worked really hard to lose those resentments.
Mm-hmm.
And so in his mind, he thinks he doesn't have that problem anymore. But as an outside observer, it's like I said, it's not overt. It's very subtle, but it makes sense. That's your life experience,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But what gets me is where someone's life experience starts to put somebody down because they're not normal.
Yeah, or their life experience is not your life experience. It's, you know, even though you went through the same thing, you know, again, I hate so much how the truth is a game of telephone. Because my truth, as I tell it, may not be that you and I can watch the exact same thing and our truths can be different, you know? And that, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, research being done on memories and all this stuff now.
Yeah.
And showing these kind of things and it's like, so, you know, if you apply what you see as your truth as an absolute truth to someone else, it's like, well, that's not their truth. That's not their perspective, you know, so maybe that's not the case, you know? You know, and essentially, I mean, that's essentially how any sort of bigotry gains its footing. You know, is you have a bad experience or something with whatever, and then you're now, you know, biased toward it, and then you just start applying that broadly. You know, and that's where what happens here too. You know, maybe you know somebody who is just lazy that won't get out and do anything or blah blah blah. So now anyone who has similar qualities, you're just immediately labeling under that same, you know, banner. And and again, you know, and you could be way off the mark on it. So
I think one place where I'm kind of going in my mind with this is, you know, we always talk about we need to find things that bring us closer together and the things that we have in common. And especially we hear that a lot these days with politics and that kind of stuff. And I've always had the little part of me ever since I was a kid where it's like, no, I want to celebrate the things that make me different. Mm-hmm. And that's a little ego stuff, you know, and because I want to be a little special. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, I don't want to talk about becoming normal. I want to celebrate what makes me a little weird. I want to celebrate what makes me a little bit odd.
Yeah.
So that maybe we all realize that we're all a little bit odd. It's just in different ways.
Yeah.
And so we quit judging each other for the perception of what makes that person odd to you. But without this goal of then we'll understand each other better. No, I'm still not going to understand certain people. I don't buy this idea like, oh, well, if you just spend some time with them, then maybe you'll understand them. And it's like, no, I
can give you a perfect example of this. I was with a friend of mine one time and his brother, we were hanging out at a bar and they were talking about something and he made a comment that a couple nights before he had got pulled over for a DWB, which for those who aren't familiar is known as driving while black. And he was in a really white neighborhood. He was in a decent vehicle and it was late at night and he got pulled over. Wasn't really doing anything according to him, you know, obviously grain of salt, but he was explaining, you know, and in my head, I can't identify with that because I've never been in a car when I've been in a car when something very similar happened, but I've never had it happen directly to me. You know, I've seen it happen to someone else. You know, and no matter what they tell me, I'll never understand what that feels like because that bias will not be shown against me because I'm white, you know, or whatever. It's like you don't hear people like white people complain about being pulled over because they're white, you know, like that kind of a thing. So he's telling me his experiences with this and I'm just like, wow, but I can sympathize or, you know, empathize at that point, but I cannot I will never understand what that is like. His truth in that scenario, I will never fully understand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I think, kind of what happens, you know, with that is we get to a point that, you know, because I could go, oh, that's ridiculous. That never happens, because it's never happened to me. You know, my truth is that doesn't happen. His truth is that happens a lot. You know, and neither one of us is telling a fib. You know, because to me it never happens. To him it does. You know, like that kind of thing. So
it's that, and it's that difference of acceptance versus like and also empathy versus sympathy, and you know, I can't take on a feeling that I've never experienced.
Right.
I can maybe compare what you're feeling with myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel like within our conversations with recovery and trying to become less of what we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of like a goal of a normal life. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Have your life.
Yeah.
And you know, and I want to it's that same thing about where I may judge somebody else, I also need to quit judging myself.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not normal yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is that? You know, here's a psychiatrist saying there is no normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trust us. In our professional medical experiences,
mm-hmm.
There's no such thing. So, you know,
well, my favorite part of that is when she talks about how just because a bunch of people do it doesn't make it like okay. Yeah. Because it's like literally you could go, well, everybody I know does it. And it's like, well, yeah, that could be that because you tend to hang out with people who have the similar biases that you have, you know, or similar viewpoints and whatever. So it's like, sure, all of your friends are going to feel a certain, like the example I was just talking about with the, you know, the racist stuff, you know, it's like, well, most of my friends have never experienced that because most of my friends are white, you know,
and that means absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
And yet that's the thing. It's like, and I had the same thing with somebody said that, you know, who's experienced this? And I'm like, dude, you're a white guy asking a bunch of other white people.
Right. Yeah.
Like I mean, and you are going to make some correlation based. Sorry, you're going to make a causation out of this there might only be correlation.
Yeah. Check your privilege.
The correlation being you asked a bunch of white people.
Yep.
But the same thing goes with, you know, this. If I walk into a group of alcoholics and start asking some questions, you know, that whole group is going to sound very normal.
Yeah.
If we just go by population.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, we all share this thing. Mm-hmm. We must all be normal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe none of, you know, so the message I want to take from this is I don't need to set some goal of what's recovered that has anything to do with anybody else.
Yeah.
Other than maybe my doctor or my closest friends.
Yeah.
My mentors, that kind of stuff. And to go back to I still love celebrating what's a little weird about all of us. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'd rather work within my weird than try to pretend I'm not.
Well, the
anymore.
Difference is, like you said, celebrating your differences is fine. When you're attempting to further a divide with your differences is where the problem is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's the one part about this thing that I haven't quite got to. It comes again to something that I bring up all the time. What's your motive?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your motive? Mm-hmm. If your motive is to set yourself apart from, meaning that it's okay if we all have our opinions if we're celebrating the fact that we're entitled to having our own opinions, right?
Yep.
So having diverse and very different opinions doesn't work in a society where everyone is supposed to think equal, you know, think the same thoughts.
Yeah.
right? Because now you guys are definitely not normal. Everyone's supposed to be thinking they're, you know, whereas we live in a society where we get to have our own opinions.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The more and more I look at this stuff and the more I think on it, I truly and truly feel like normal is a form of oppression. Because making people feel like they have to think the same, behave the same, strive for the same thing. And I don't mean like in law type sense, but
No, exactly.
Look at it at work. They don't want individuals generally. They want sheep. You know, they want you to go, here are the company rules. I'm going to do the company rules and blah, blah, blah. They don't want someone to challenge those rules, you know, and we run into that a lot in various places where people don't want you to do that. They want you to fit into the box.
Well, because they want it to be easy.
Exactly. You know, because if everything is cookie cutter, it's super simple. When people start behaving, you know, a little differently, then it's like, well, now we have to figure out how to handle, you know, like somebody, if they have a kid that is considered a good kid, you know, that blah, 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 people or whatever. But if you have a kid who's a little eccentric or is just hyper or whatever the term or diagnosis ends up being, you know, it's harder to handle. And what's the first thing that people will tend to do? You know, like a friend of mine that has an autistic child, you know, she, you know, has run into so many people over time that have pulled the, you know, oh, my son has autism or whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And she's like, why? Like, you know, like, you know, oh, well, you know, and it's because they're implying something's wrong with him, you know, kind of a thing. And it's because he's not normal, you know, and it's like, well, who cares? He's different. That's fine. You just have to handle him differently. You know, like I've talked on here about like management styles. If you approach everybody with the same management style, you are going to fail as a manager because we don't all accept things the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, watch The Biggest Loser and look at how the trainers work. Sometimes getting yelled at by a trainer is not going to work on somebody. Sometimes they need the person that kind of talks to them and gets into their psyche a little bit, you know?
Yep.
Like I've said, if I were on that show, I would not, I wouldn't be there very long because I'd be like, if you're going to scream at me all the time, I'm leaving. Like, I'm all for doing the work, but if you're going to scream at me, I'm out of here. Like, this isn't going to work. So
I have a family friend whose son had ADHD, and they had meds for him. Mm-hmm. And every year she would walk in and talk to the teacher because, you know, elementary school, you have a different teacher. Sure. And she would say, okay, you know, this is what's going on. And, you know, I'd rather not put him on medication because he's a way more fun, outgoing and, you know, creative human when he's not drugged.
Right.
The thing is, he's going to get antsy. And if you could allow him to just stand in the classroom rather than sit every once in a while, or, you know, and some of the teachers were okay with it. And I really admired that a teacher would say, you know, like, yeah, that's fine. You know, as long as it's not a disruption. But here's the thing. The disruption comes from the normal people that say, why does he get to do something different than me? And that's where I just want to just go whack.
Yeah. Yep. And that's kind of what I was saying when I said that it's a form of oppression. I wasn't necessarily meaning it in some like grand political, you know, but like in this scenario, it's a way of like getting all the kids to behave, to be normal. Like you have to go, you sit, you listen, you participate. That's what you do. And if you do anything outside of that, you're considered a distraction, essentially. Even though, like you said, maybe just let that kid stand up and maybe he's fine and that's all he needs, you know, or whatever it ends up being. Now, again, I mean, there does have to be within reason, you know, otherwise.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, my Timmy only, you know, can do his schoolwork if he's also, you know, drinking a 6-pack of beer and smoking cigars. It's like, you know, maybe we say no to that. But no, I mean, and, you know, something more reasonable, of course, but I'm just making fun of it. But that's what ends up happening. And it, like I said, it's the same at work. You know, if a lot of workplaces, if you, you know, through the day, if you're that person who wants a stand-up desk, you're weird. There's something different about you. You know, it's like, and it's not seen as, hey, that's someone who basically maybe they've read a lot of the research on sitting all the time and realize that it's really bad for you. You know, oh, you're the weirdo. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to when I was living in California, one of my side jobs I worked for a lot of office buildings where this is when there was a huge expansion in the tech world, and so a lot of people were hiring all the time. And one of the things I did is I put desks together.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, oh yeah, we rented out a whole another wing of the building, and we have a whole bunch of desks, and I just charged a flat fee, and we just made some money.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of like, yeah, if I was at those businesses now, I'd be doing nothing but installing standing desks everywhere, because that's what's happening at my work.
Yeah.
Like I go into the health club and everyone's got their standing desk.
Right.
Now it's an adjustable one that goes up and down. It's like,
Now, see, those make more sense because those are like the adjustable ones end up being, well, first of all, if you do want to sit down, you can, but they're also they're better overall because that allows people of
different heights and different
various abilities
body
and what have you.
shapes.
Yeah. Because some people can't stand for 9-10 hours. They have to, they'd have to sit down or something. So
yep.
Yeah. And of course you want to accommodate, but you also, it's like, it is, like I said, it was, and it really, it's even like when I was a kid, my brother and I were just talking about this because today I'm wearing a shirt with the Batman logo on it. And my brother was wearing a shirt with the Flash logo on it. And, we went to Panda Express today to eat. And when we were in line, I went through, nothing was said to me, whatever. He gets up and one of the girls working was like, oh, I love the Flash. And, started talking. And it's funny because, and my brother knows this too, but it was like when I was a kid, if I was seen wearing the Batman shirt or he was seen wearing a Flash shirt, you'd have been like, nerd, like you're the outcast. You are different, Yeah. Now it's, everybody wears them, but it's that kind of a thing. The normal at that time was you don't read comic books or you don't admit to reading comic books or, unless you're a little kid, basically. Whereas now you got people, I mean, good Lord, look how many thousands of people these conventions are pulling through, every year because people are, geeking out over TV shows, movies, comic books, card games, cartoons, take your pick. Whatever used to be considered weird or nerdy and geeky has now become the norm, but even still, there's still huge groups of people that will still look at that community and still make you live in your mom's basement and, don't have a girlfriend jokes. So even when something does seem to become the norm, there's still people looking to put down the difference. Like, what is different,
Yep.
So it's like, why seek out, why it's like just best advice I ever got in my life was, well, after always wear darks. That's probably the best advice. But it was, just be who you are. And like, I remember, I think I've talked about it here before. I thought it was the biggest line of bull when I heard it. Cause it sounds like one of those things you'd see on a placard somewhere or a poster. And you're like, what does that even mean? Like kind of thing. But it really does hold true, just be who you are, just be true to yourself. That's all it is. And try not to worry about what other people are thinking about you. And like you said, Henno, it's like, if you go into your doctor and they show concern about behaviors or whatever, okay, listen, but
part of this also is that if we can let go of I'm going to start calling it the normal stigma.
Yeah.
If we can let go of the normal stigma, it'll allow us to be more in the moment and be where we are at a given time and not fight so hard.
Yeah.
Like there's something you need to achieve in some amount of time. Change can take sometimes it happens fast, and in my recovery, I had times where change happened like wildfire, and then other times where it stretched out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever was making that, and I was kind of say, okay, I've come this far along. Now I'm good. And that's why there's a lot of, we hear this all the time about, like there's no finish line.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. It's a journey. It's, those kind of ideas is that there is no, you don't graduate and everything's fine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That life is always going to give you something to look at. And so if you can accept for who you are at any given point in your life, then that's all you need. That's all you need right there. And that tells you what you need to work on and what you need to do. And it's usually wherever you're standing.
Yeah. Well, you're right. And that makes it to where you're not, it cuts down on you comparing yourself to others or constantly going, oh, I wish I had that, or they're so lucky they have this and blah, blah,
Yep.
Because a lot of times really the difference is that, like I've said on here before, it's like a lot of times the difference is somebody else is just, they've done the work, and I don't even mean like rich and famous kind of thing or just somebody who's super successful that way. I mean, even in like mental health, you could go, wow, I have all this anxiety. I wish I was like so-and-so. And it's like, well, they've been in therapy for 10 years. Like they've done the work and, just start doing the work and you will be there, but don't compare yourself to them. Just if you can go, that's my goal and work toward it or something, but you don't have to, don't look at someone else and go, well, they're normal now. 'Cause if you ask them, they'd probably be like, oh, I'm far from normal. I got this, and I think you'd find that a lot with a lot of people. That when we really dig just a little bit, I think most of us would admit that we don't feel that we're normal in a lot of ways. So if a lot of people don't feel normal, then what's normal?
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. And we're full circle.
Yep.
It was nice to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we do mention this quite a bit about how we've, from the beginning, talked about how we don't like using the word normal.
That term.
Yeah. Because I just don't feel that I haven't felt for a long time that it's a positive connotation.
Yeah, that it serves anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like it's a way of, just being negative, essentially. Is, oh, well, I'm not normal. It's a way of putting yourself down. You're not normal. It's a way of putting someone else down. It's it just feels like a less than term.
Yep.
Even though the goal of it is to be equal to, because if you go, you're normal and I'm normal, it's like, oh, we're equal. But that's generally not how it's really done. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. I think that was
there. You have it.
Good talk. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So I guess, as Jen usually says, if you'd like to continue the conversation with us, you can reach out to us on the website, which is thecrazylightpodcast.weebly.com. You can email us at thecrazylightpodcast@outlook.com. The show Twitter is at thecrazylifepod, where I post when new episodes go up. Jen can be found on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, and that's Jen with a G. Or at Dits with D Tits, which is in the show notes if you need help with the spelling of that. You can find her other podcast, which is called Shake the Sheets, at shakethesheets.com. And there was something else I was going to say there, but I don't remember. So, Heno, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. Find me on Facebook, Heno Heiter, and Facebook Messenger. And, we just did our last The Orville episode, and we'll officially changing that show to the Orville Light. So if you're watching the Orville and want to hear a couple people gab about that as a podcast, go check us out.
Nice. Yeah, I was reading, was it yesterday or the day before, that it got picked up for season 3?
Oh, cool. So, I haven't seen that yet.
Yep.
Awesome. I should probably know that since I do a show.
Yeah, I feel like
that.
You should, right?
Maybe.
Did I just become a field reporter?
I had flu.
No. Yeah, I guess we'll allow it this time. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so make sure earbuds, AirPods, whatever it is you're using, make sure they're on or in however they're meant to be worn. Please don't cram cans into your ears. The old head speakers, if you will. Where was I? I lost my place. Our Facebook group is at facebook.com/group/crazylightpodcast. We are part of Danger Entertainment, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. And we're also part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out those networks, and you'll probably find some other podcasts that you enjoy. Bunch of nerds. No. Nerds. Yeah. We'd appreciate it if you would rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. According to someone, that helps us out. So we would really appreciate it. But most of all, it's more of a like share with your friends, especially somebody you think may get something out of the show. And if you'd like to suggest a topic for us, or potentially, come on and talk with us, make sure hit us up on Twitter or at the email or whatever, and we can figure that out. And of course, if you need help, please reach out. Please don't be alone. There's all sorts of people out there willing to help you. You just gotta, make the move. The other night we were watching TV. It was, we were watching Saturday Night Live. That's what it was. And during that, there was 3 local, well, by local, I mean for Detroit, which is, local-ish to where I am. There were 3 commercials for that area about mental health stuff. I was like, this is awesome, but they also need to be on at other times of the day, because I haven't seen them any other time. And don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of times that, over the years where I've sat up obviously super late at night ruminating, and, that I would have been the target of these ads, but, good on them for at least starting somewhere, getting a few of them out there.
Yeah.
Actually, one was for Gamblers Anonymous, where it was a woman, and she actually goes through, like, I have the training, I've been doing this a long time, I want to help you, I'm not, I'm not going to run and tattle on you, like, all the things that, she was trying to dispel a lot of the stigma of, the helpline or whatever, so that was pretty awesome, too. But also make sure you reach out to your friends and whatnot, especially if they're going through a hard time. Just make sure they're doing okay. Again, just because their Facebook says life's great doesn't mean it necessarily is. So check in with them. And then, as usual, I'd say, just let's try to be less judgmental of each other. Let's try to just be nicer. There's so much division and hate right now. We need to put the brakes on this and work the other way. So, just best way to change your world is to just start, just little things, ripples become waves, right?
Yep.
Oh, and also, be good to yourselves in there. Make sure you're treating yourself well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, all right, Hanno. What's your last word?
People with disabilities are weird. People without disabilities are weird. People are weird. Without weird, we would have a world without music, art, love, and laughter. There would not have been an Einstein, Mozart, Warhol, Gates. Be weird. Change the world.